Good evening everyone and welcome to USP College. My name is John Briggs and I'm the Assistant Principal for Vocational Provision, and what I'd like to do this evening is to talk you through what it's like to be a student at USP College, how we are slightly unique as a college, and what you need to do to be successful whilst you're here. So I'm going to start off by talking you through some key elements of the college's strategy and essentially how we are a little bit unique as a college. So what we have done is we have researched through our student destinations and through local market intelligence the different sectors that our students go on and work in when they leave college. And broadly speaking, these are the 5 sector areas where many of our students end up working professionally after they leave college or after they leave university. So the first of those is creative and digital, second is healthcare and medical, the third is financial sector and professional services, early years childcare and education, and life and sports sciences. Now that's not to say that we don't have students who leave USP and go into other destinations and go into other sectors, but broadly speaking these are the 5 sector areas that many of our students end up working in the future. And our different courses are arranged underneath these 5 sector areas as part of that. Okay, so within each of those 5 key sector areas, we have specific career pathways for the students to align themselves with. Now, I just want to give you a moment to sort of take these in. Now, if you're sat there thinking, oh no, my career pathway isn't one of those, maybe this isn't the right college for me, please don't worry about that. Essentially, whatever your career aspiration is, USP will help you to get there. And there's a whole range of things that I'm going to talk about in this presentation, a range of different ways that we can support you to achieve your career aim. But if one of these does represent your career pathway, then we have a specific number of additional opportunities that we can create for you, which will support you in moving on to that particular career pathway. So for example, if you are an aspiring lawyer, there is an academic route, so there's an A-level route for you to become a lawyer, and there's a vocational route for you to become a lawyer. And I'm going to talk about those as we go through the presentation, but you would belong, if you were aspiring to be a lawyer, to the financial and professional services sector area. In a similar vein, if you were looking at a career in early years, so working in nursery or something to that effect, then you would be part of our education, childcare and early years sector. If you're looking at a career in medicine or anything in the medical profession, then you would be part of our healthcare and medical pathway. So we have these 5 key sector areas and we have some career pathways that sit underneath those. But essentially don't worry too much if your career pathway is not one of those listed, because whatever your career aspiration is, we will support you to get there. So this just gives you an example of a few specific jobs that some of our students tend to go into that span those different sector areas. So we have teacher, graphic designer, software engineer, accountant, lawyer, stockbroker, architect. These are all high-end aspirational careers, good careers that our students tend to go into that span those different sector areas. Okay, so on this slide, this represents all of the different ways that USP is slightly unique and how we embed a career-focused learning strategy. So to be honest, if you go to any college these days, they'll say they have a career strategy, and they're all very, very similar to each other in the sense, yes, the students go on work experience, and yes, they do have some careers talks and things like that, but we go a little bit further than that. And for us, it's not enough that the students just get their qualifications. That is obviously the main reason they're here and an integral part of their 2 years of study with us, or 1 year of study if it's just a year. But we want to be better than that, and what we want to do is to provide this wraparound package of additional opportunities that develop skills in the students and make them ready for industry, or more ready for industry than they would be if they didn't do these things. And I'm going to talk about each of these different things as we go through the presentation, but you can see here the kind of things I'm talking about are, we have sector boards where employers from industry work with us to basically inform us of what's current in industry in terms of the skills that need to be developed, the qualifications the students should study, and the jobs that they should be looking at going into. We have the sector areas, as I've already shown you, the 5 key sector areas that our qualifications sit underneath. We have something called student CPD days, where the students come off timetable and do activities related to their future career aims. We have college companies, where the students work on real projects with employers, as opposed to sort of assignments that are written by the exam board. We have work experience for all of our students, and also an industrial placement program. We have enrichment opportunities, and essentially this wraparound package that develop skills and experiences in the students that makes them ready for the world of work. Okay, so I've touched on this already, but I just mentioned sector boards as one of these key components, and this is an example of some of the employers that work with us as a college and sit on our sector boards. And what a sector board essentially is a group of college managers and employers from industry who work together throughout the course of the year to make sure that the curriculum is fit for purpose. So they make sure that we as a college are taking their feedback and developing the right skills in the students. They also give us some feedback on the qualifications that we should offer to support the students into those different career pathways, and they help us to identify specific job opportunities and any changes in the market as a result of, for example, a pandemic which has opened up new job opportunities and changed the direction of some of those sectors moving forward. So we get that employer feedback, we use that employer feedback, and essentially it shapes our curriculum offer. And we have a range of different employers. What we try to do is make sure that all of the different career pathways have an employer that supports, that sort of represents them and gives feedback on their behalf, so that we're getting this broad range of feedback to take forwards and implement in our curriculum. The second element is we have something called college learning companies at the college, and what this is essentially the students, instead of working on a kind of boring assignment that is set by the exam board, what they do is they work on a real live project brief which is set by an employer. And the difference is that this is a much more engaging experience for the students. It's a real thing that they're working on. As a result of it, they will produce an actual portfolio of evidence that they can use in the future with an employer or with a university, and they develop skills that are needed to be successful in the world of work. So for example, they will probably engage in project planning as a result of working on a live project brief. They will engage in teamwork and leadership, and they will develop communication skills, presentation skills, negotiation skills, and these range of skills that we perhaps take for granted, but are skills that young people often don't necessarily have just through studying the normal curriculum offer. So by having these really interesting projects set by employers for the students, they are developing this raft of skills that are better preparing them for the world of work. And I'd also say not just skills, but also work-ready behaviours. These employers that work with us, it's really great that they set these live briefs, but they want a deadline to be met. So the students need to meet that deadline to make sure that the employer is sort of satisfied. So what I would say to any parents out there is that if you are working locally or regionally for a business and you actually think this is something that you can support with, by all means get in touch with the college, get in touch with one of our heads of learning, and we'd be more than happy to give you a group of students to work on a project for you, and the good thing for you guys is that they're free. We don't charge anything for the students to do this piece of work for you. So just some examples of the kind of things we've done is some of our creative students they've created murals in the local community. They have supported with various art exhibitions. Some of our business students have managed events for charities as part of their event management unit. They've done some market research for different companies. They've done some brand management. So there's a range of different things that these different college companies offer, and we can offer the local community and local businesses a service. And at the same time, our students not only do they get to tick off the different bits of criteria that they need to achieve for the qualification, but they also develop skills that they're going to need and behaviours they're going to need in the future when they move into industry. So that's really the concept behind a college company, and each area of the college has a college company for the students to be part of. So it's a really exciting development. The next element is professional development days, and what this is 3 days throughout the year. Our students come off timetable and they choose activities and workshops. They choose to attend these activities and workshops and masterclasses based on what their future career aim is. So for example, if they want to be a lawyer, they will choose to take part in activities and workshops that prepare them for a future in the law industry. Or if they want to be an accountant, again, they would choose activities related to becoming an accountant. And we have built these really strong links with employers. These employers provide masterclasses for us, they provide workshops, and the students choose which ones they attend based on their future career aims. So where this works really well is if a student engages with this and they work well with the employers, then they can create opportunities for themselves in the future. So we do have some examples of students who, they've impressed an employer so much that they've been offered a full-time position at the end of their course. So they finish at USP and end up getting a job with an employer that they've worked with on one of the CPD days. On other occasions, the students have created, they've used it as a networking opportunity, and they've developed some contacts that have led to part-time work or full-time work further down the line. So it's a really unique aspect of what we do. And the students see the value of that, our existing students, and we try to make sure as many of those activities and workshops are delivered by high quality external facilitators from within the sector. Okay, the next element of what makes USP College a little bit unique is we have a focus on immersive teaching and learning. So we actually have 3 main campuses now, one at the Civic campus in Benfleet, the Palmers campus in Grays, and the Extend campus in Canvey. And what we have explored over the past few years is the use of digital technologies and digital platforms to make sure that we are efficient and that we link up those 3 campuses effectively, and that impacts our students. So what we do is we take one kind of super teacher, and they teach in an immersive room, and this is one of the best practitioners that you can have. They teach in an immersive room, and instead of being hamstrung by geography, students that are working at the 3 different campuses can all find themselves in this lesson through immersive technology with a super teacher teaching the material and helping them to understand the parts of the qualification that they're working on. So there's some really innovative digital practices going on at the college that allow our students to have access to not just the best teachers, but high quality technology that supports their learning and creates a really sort of interesting, stimulating learning environment. Okay, so some future developments that are going to impact not just USP College, but all colleges are around T-levels, AS exams, and as I've just mentioned, our Extend Digital Campus. So T-levels are a new qualification which are going to sit alongside A-levels, and to an extent they're going to replace most of the existing level 3 vocational qualifications. So they are, I suppose the best way of describing it is they are a flipped apprenticeship. So with an apprenticeship, students will spend 4 days a week or 80% of their time in industry and 1 day in college. At T-level, they spend 4 days in college learning the material and the content that they need to pass the qualification and be ready for the world of work. But then they spend 1 day in industry learning the industry specific and transferable skills needed to be successful in industry. So that's what a T-level is, and at USP we're going to be introducing those from 2023 onwards. So it's a fairly new development, but it's something that we are preparing for because obviously it's quite an enhanced work experience placement to do 315 hours of work experience across an academic year. But it's a really exciting one because it's very in line with our strategy and what we're trying to do with the students, and it's a really good way of preparing the students for their future career. The second point here is around AS exams, and we've taken a view that where we can, we've re-implemented AS exams at the end of year 1 with the students, because it allows the students, the teachers, the parents to have a better understanding of progress midway through a 2-year linear A-level course, and I think that's something we've implemented. It seems to be working well with the students. They've got a clearer idea of their strengths and areas for improvement moving into year 2, and the same as the teachers and the parents. So that's something that you'll find not for all A-levels, but if you do study an A-level programme, that's something that you can expect as part of your time at USP College. And then the third component here is the Extend Digital Campus. So this is our new campus in Canvey, and it has state-of-the-art digital technologies, and most of those are around virtual reality and augmented reality, and it's an opportunity for all of our students across all the different courses that they study on. They'll all have the opportunity to potentially go to this campus and to use the technology as part of their learning, and it's very state-of-the-art. It's there's some things there that you and I wouldn't have even really thought about if you haven't been there. So we're talking about virtual reality headsets that allow you to simulate certain things that you would do in industry, fly a plane as an example, or perform surgery, and all sorts of strange things that you just wouldn't think were possible through virtual reality or augmented reality. But there's some really good technology there that is going to, I would say, enhance the learning experience of the students. Some of the other things that we have a motion capture room. So for some of our practical subjects, whether that be dance, performing arts or sports, there's opportunities to use that technology as part of the learning for those subjects. So that is a fairly new development, but a really exciting one, and something that is going to make the students' experience a little bit different and really sort of enrich their time with us. Okay, so essentially this slide is representing that whatever your plans are, we have a high quality vocational routes. So that's whether that's BTEC, UAL if you're a creative arts student, University of Arts London, or CASH if you are a student studying an early years programme. Or we have a high quality academic route through our A-level courses and our applied courses. Now, most students when they start at USP will come in having done their GCSEs, and they'll start at the middle of this diagram on the level 3 courses. And what this diagram shows is that we offer provision which is also at level 1 and level 2. So if GCSEs don't go as well as you would like, there's no need to worry, because we actually provide an opportunity for you to take part in some stepping stone courses which you can complete with us at level 1 and level 2 before you move on to level 3 study. And it also shows you that once you've finished your 2 years of level 3 study at the college, we have level 4 and level 5 and level 6 opportunities for students to actually stay with us and do their higher education here at the college. So we've got a very broad range of provision all the way from level 1 to level 6. and there's opportunities for students at all levels to progress up the ladder, and essentially, you know, what I would say, the message to you is, obviously work as hard as you can and do as well as you can in your GCSEs at this moment in time, and in your exams later in the year. But ultimately, if things don't go the way that you would like, we do have options at level 1 and level 2 to support you. And I'd also like to say we also have a special foundation learning department which supports students with supported internships and pathways as part of that. And one of my colleagues, Mandy, and her team will work with parents and work with the schools to identify if this type of provision is suitable for your young person. Okay, so if you were thinking about a vocational route as your programme of study when you come to USP, then we allow students to study one subject in more depth from level 1 to level 3. So really, if you know what your career aim is, and you know the only subject that you really want to do when you come to college, then I would suggest that you choose a vocational route, because you're going to study that subject in lots of depth, and you can do that from level 1 to level 3, and you spend most of your week in class with like-minded people who have the same kind of career aspirations and want to study the same stuff as you. And these are courses that are largely coursework based and designed to give students the skills required to be successful in industry. That doesn't mean to say that students studying vocational courses don't go to university. Many of our students do go to university from vocational courses, but we do a lot of stuff within those courses which prepares the students for the world of work, whether that's at 18 or whether it's after university at 21. So the entry requirements for these qualifications are 4 GCSEs at grade 4 or above. I've included C there, but to be honest, that's a few years old now, so that, you know, we're quite used to the new grading system, and it's 4 GCSEs at grade 4 or above, including one of, or preferably both, English and maths. There are some courses that also have subject-specific entry requirements. So, for example, if you want to study business, they might ask you for, you know, have you studied business at GCSE, or sport, have you studied sport at GCSE and got a particular grade in that subject to move on to it. So there are some subject-specific entry requirements as well, but the general entry requirements are 4 GCSEs at grade 4 or above, including one of English or maths. And our strategy for these students, as I've mentioned already, prepares them for the world of work. So the idea is that when they leave us at 18 or 19, they are ready to go straight into the world of work with all of the skills, the knowledge and the behaviours that they need. However, some students are, you know, quite rightly will choose to do some time at university to further develop their knowledge and understanding before they go into the world of work. Okay, the other route is an academic route, which essentially what we're talking about here is A-levels. And what we offer as a college is a 3 times linear A-level offer, or we might offer students the opportunity to do 4 A-levels, but only if one of those A-levels is further maths. So really, we encourage students to do 3 A-levels, and we encourage them to do well on 3 A-levels as opposed to spreading themselves across 4, unless that 4th one happens to be further maths. And the general entry requirements are 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or above, including GCSE English language and or maths with subject-specific entry requirements. So for example, to do maths or further maths, they might ask you for a 7 or an 8 in your GCSE maths to go and study maths and further maths. Or in biology, they might ask you for example, a 6 in biology, which you know, again represents that subject-specific entry requirements. But the general entry requirements are 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or above. And we have over 35 subject choices across our A-levels, so it makes us the broadest provider of A-level provision in this part of Essex. The subject combinations are specifically designed to lead to career aspirations. So we don't just abandon this for our A-level students. It's just as important for A-level students to have an idea of which career they would like in the future, or potentially which sector area they would like to be part of in the future. And what we do is we plan the provision so that they study a combination of courses which is suitable for each of those different career pathways. So there's still some real thought that goes into, and it's a negotiation between the student and the staff here, but some real thought that goes into that combination of subjects that supports that future career aim. And we also have a tailored tutorial and progress coach plan for Russell Group University applicants. So if a student is thinking of going to Russell Group University, we have a special tailored program as part of the tutorial plans to support those students in their applications. Thank you very much for your time this evening. We really look forward to seeing you with us at USP, and yeah, thanks for your time. Bye bye.